Well, howdy. What I want to talk about now is something wonderful that may be coming up in the year 2023. We've all been going through a lot of trials and tribulations these past few years, and there are probably more trials and tribulations ahead. But nonetheless, there's something happening in 2023 that could be quite transcendent, and that is a conjunction of Jupiter and Chiron. Now, to understand astrologically what this conjunction means, let's take a look at some past conjunctions of Jupiter and Chiron. So let me begin by sharing a screen here. Okay, there we go. So we'll discuss the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction of March 2023. Now, Chiron is a small planetoid that was discovered in 1977 by astronomer Charles Kowal. And since it resides between Saturn and Uranus, it is in many ways an astrology a bridge between what can be seen and what can't be seen, a bridge between the known and the unknown. As such, Chiron represents both a transcendent energy and that urge to transcend. However, as I often say, you can't make a cosmic omelet without cracking a few cosmic eggs. And as a result, Chiron is also greatly associated with both wounding and the healing that hopefully follows wounding. Now I've got a little timeline here showing that in 2023, Jupiter and Chiron will be conjunct throughout most of March. So Jupiter will be conjunct Chiron in Aries throughout most of March 2023. Chiron can cause wounding, healing, or transcendence. Jupiter expands things, while Aries is a sign that seeks independence of self. On the downside, there may be more wounding through war or other mechanisms, but on the positive side, there may also be some who find deep spirituality or transcendence within their own being rather than exterior religions. We may or may not immediately see the consequences of this conjunction, but keep an eye out for things related to the keywords above. Let's look now at what Jupiter-Chiron conjunctions have done in the past, and as we do so, we'll see that each time something transcendent occurred that has lasted to this day. Okay. There were 3 exact conjunctions of Jupiter and Chiron in 1928 through 1929 in Taurus. They happened on August 17th of 1928, September 23rd of 1928, and February 24th of 1929. Being in Taurus, the impact could be on either money or things we enjoy, entertainment. Of course, in October of 1929, the stock market crashed, and the Great Depression began under a conjunction of Chiron with the North Node. But what futuristic idea happened in 1928 and 1929 that has been entertaining and that has endured to this day? Can you guess? Well, it's television. In February 1928, Scottish inventor John Logie Baird broadcast a transatlantic television signal from London to Hartsdale, New York. In May 1928, the first regular schedule of television programming began in Schenectady, New York. And in July 1928, let's just change that real quickly here. There we go. John Logie Baird demonstrated the world's first color TV transmission. All right. And in September 1928, Philo Farnsworth demonstrated the world's first working all-electronic television system, employing electronic scanning in both the pickup and display devices. And that month was also one of the months where we had an exact conjunction between Jupiter and Chiron. And in August of 1929, John Logie Baird's experimental 30-line television system is first transmitted by the BBC, and the first patent for color TV is awarded in November. So that was quite something. Now, Jupiter and Chiron were conjunct one time in October of 1945 in Libra. And since the conjunction is in Libra, relationships might be involved. Also, both Neptune and Venus might be drawn into this conjunction, and that might add elements of peace and spirituality, but also perhaps some naivete regarding what might happen. Well, what do you think happened in October of that year? Well, I'll tell you. On October 24th, 1945, the United Nations was founded and became operational. And while some may see its aspirations for peace and cooperation as simplistic, and while many have criticized it, it has nonetheless done much good over the years in uniting people and helping to keep lines of communication open in order to help resolve international crises. Okay, as we go through this presentation, you'll see that every time Jupiter and Chiron come into conjunction, even if there's some wounding somewhere else, nonetheless, there's always some transcendent vision that comes about, something new and marvelous that endures and affects us. Now, Jupiter and Chiron were conjunct 3 times in Pisces in 1962, in May, in August, and in December. And since the conjunction is in Pisces, we would expect a very refined energy that could find expression either through meditation, spirituality, that is, or the arts. Can you guess what happened that year? Well, 1962 was the year the Beatles began to gel as a group. They found their manager, Brian Epstein, their producer, George Martin, and in August, when one of the conjunctions occurred, they finally found their drummer, Ringo Starr. In September, they recorded Love Me Do, and the rest is history. They had a wonderful new sound we hadn't heard before, and it completely revolutionized music for many of us. Their sound endures to this day. Okay, going on to the next Jupiter-Chiron conjunction. That was in March 1976. There was a conjunction of Jupiter and Chiron in Aries. This one is especially significant since the 2023 conjunction will also be in Aries. In terms of religion or transcendent spirituality, one might expect some sort of philosophy to emerge that embodies a spiritual warrior. Well, what do you think happened? Well, here's what happened. Later in March 1976, filming began on a little movie that was to be called Star Wars. The new transcendent concept that emerged was that of the Force, that connected everything in the universe. And the Jedi Knights, well, they were the epitome of spiritual warriors that fought for the light side of the Force. Also, it was very individualistic, since not everyone could access the Force. The next time Jupiter and Chiron came into conjunction was in June 1990 in Cancer. Because of the sign placement, one might expect something transcendent to occur that also involves the home and family. Can you guess what happened that year? Probably not, but here it is. In June 1990, a 25-year-old single mother living on state assistance was waiting for a train when she got an idea for a series of novels about a character she called Harry Potter. This series brought us into an awareness of the magic around us, and throughout, Harry was affected by the death of his parents and found a real home and family at Hogwarts. At Hogwarts, of course, Dumbledore became sort of his surrogate father, and the House of Gryffindor became his home, the home he always wanted. Now, it was several years, I don't think it was until 1997, that the first Harry Potter book was published. So sometimes there can be quite a bit of time before the marvelous thing that happens under Jupiter-Chiron conjunction and its manifestation in the world. And of course, it's a long time before television became commonplace. Nonetheless, we can see when these ideas began to gel, when it all began. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Well, next in 2009, there was a very special triple conjunction of Jupiter, Chiron, and Neptune that occurred 3 times that year in Aquarius in May, July, and December. Because of Aquarius, one would expect something of a humanitarian nature that would help maintain the social environment, which that is ruled by the 10th house. 4th house is personal environment. It's opposite the 10th house as a social environment. And of course, Neptune denotes healing, compassion, and spirituality. What happened that year? Well, let's see. This conjunction was in May of 2009. And in July of 2009, not long after that, Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker of the House, introduced the Affordable Care Act. In December, the Senate passed its version of the bill. In March 2010, it became law and transformed healthcare in America. During this year, many of us realized the higher spiritual nature of Obama's ideals. Notice too that the conjunction in May was conjunct the moon in the Sibley chart for America. That's the most commonly used July 4th, 1776 chart for the United States of America. I believe in that chart, the moon is at 27 degrees Aquarius, and here we have Jupiter, Chiron, and Neptune all at 26 degrees Aquarius. Also, recall Chiron's association with healing, and that is what the Affordable Care Act does. It spreads healing to people, and in true Aquarian fashion, it democratizes healing. It makes it available to almost everyone in this country. Certainly a lot more than it was before. Now, while the Affordable Care Act, which brought compassion and healing to the masses, was Chiron's gift to America, I would say that was Obama himself and his emphasis on hope and change through dialogue and democratic channels that Chiron gave to the rest of the world. And recognition of this preview of the age of Aquarius, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009. So I think back in 2009, we got a little hint, a little preview of these Aquarian energies that we're all waiting for. Okay. And this brings us up to the present. On March 11th, 2023, Jupiter and Chiron will once again be conjunct in Aries, and as in 1976, we expect some sort of individual transcendent spirituality to emerge. Based on past experience, it will change our world, but it may also be several years before we realize it. Additionally, America will be deeply affected since the conjunction is in direct opposition to Saturn to the degree in July 2nd and July 4th, 1976 charts for America. July 2nd was when the Resolution for Independence was passed, and July 4th was when the text, the Declaration of Independence, was adopted. And both those charts, Saturn is at 14 degrees Libra, just directly opposite this conjunction at 14 degrees Aries. I do have some concerns about that for America because the worst case scenario would be a lot of wounding for America. Hopefully that won't happen. But I'll note that we had Chiron directly opposite Saturn around September 24th of this year, 2022. And what happened a few days later? Well, Hurricane Ian hit Florida, and there was a whole lot of wounding there. So I hope we don't have more wounding in March of 2023 to America. But what I'm very certain that we will have is something, even if wounding does occur, I think something transcendent is also going to occur somewhere. As for exactly what will happen, we will just have to wait and see. And remember that may take several years before we even become aware of whatever event occurs in that month. Nonetheless, something transcendent will occur that will likely involve individual spirituality or dignity. And it may resonate well with the Star Wars mythos that began to take shape when this conjunction last occurred in 1976 in Aries. And it will also likely include Aquarian themes, since Pluto will make its long-awaited first dip into Aquarius a little later in March of 2023. Let's see, on March 23rd, 2023. But again, we shall see. We'll just have to wait and see exactly what happens. And with that, I'll leave you with just one final thought. May the Chiron be with you. Okay, let me stop sharing. And that's going to be it for this presentation. I hope that gives you something to think about regarding this upcoming Jupiter-Chiron conjunction in March of 2023. Looking back at previous conjunctions in the 20th century, despite whatever else happens, we always see that something very transcendent occurs around that time, and it's something that endures and keeps affecting us in years to come. So let's all aim for transcendence and not for wounding. And if we do get wounded, let us hope that we quickly heal. Okay, that's it. I'll see you next time.